And at this time, I'm calling this meeting to order. Ask the clerk to do a roll call.
Mayor Ham,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Halak,
Present.
Councilwoman Jones,
Present.
Councilmember Broadway,
Here.
Councilwoman Matthews,
Present.
Councilman Gaylor,
Present.
Councilman Aycock.
Here. Okay, we're all here. Next item on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda. Is there any changes to the agenda?
Yes, sir. I'd like to add item E under new business, Goldsboro Fire Department, engine number 4, emergency motor purchase.
Okay. And I believe we have a closed session item to discuss. Personnel, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other additions or changes to the agenda anyone wants to make?
I just want to add one. I know we acknowledge Councilmember Matthews as being the first African American female elected council member. I just want to address the consideration of a resolution to be done for the archives of the city and that recognition of that.
Do you have one prepared?
I don't. I just consideration for
Okay.
that being done.
So you want to add it as
Yes,
item
sir.
F under new business?
Sure.
Any other changes or additions? If not, a motion to adopt the agenda, please.
Move to adopt. Second.
That's to adopt the agenda as amended. Okay, so we've got a first and second. Is there any other objections or whatever? If not, all those in favor, raise your hand. All opposed? Motion carried. We have no old business, so we'll go straight into the new business. That's around the FY20 audit update.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening. Good evening.
I am very pleased to tell you that we are, as they say, in the short rows with the audit. So just a quick update. So on Friday, I reviewed the final financial statement and the compliance section. So I reviewed the whole audit, given back my corrections that needed to be done. And so I anticipate at this point that the senior auditor has turned over the final audit to the partner. So it has to go through partner review, and then it has to go through QC or quality control review. So at that point, they will have an issue date. I expect that to be done within about 2 weeks, barring any kind of major interruptions, but I don't expect anything different. So very pleased with that we're finally getting to the end of this. I know the council is. We should be able to get a published audit and bound books in probably about a week after I get the final. The LGC will receive the copy as soon as it's issued final. So they'll actually get it probably before the council will, but we'll try to make that as timely as we can to get it to you as quickly as we can so that you have the opportunity to review the audit. What our plan is to bring back to the March 7th meeting is to have John Frank, the partner in charge, he's the CPA that y'all have seen here several times, to come back and discuss the audit with the council and answer any questions you have. So my hope is that you've had it in your hands at least 1 to 2 weeks so you can put together questions, or you can ask them on the spot when they get here. We will have copies for, bound copies for all the council, for paper, for the city manager in his office as well. So at the time when we bring the Dixon Hughes to present the audit on the 7th, I'll also have 2 agenda items. One will be to amend the final FY20 contract. That has to be done and approved by council so that they can get paid the final amounts. And then I'll also bring the FY21 contract for the council to approve. They have agreed to continue on to do the 3rd year of the audit. So what we're going to do is we're going to put in a completion date of June 30th, 2022, which means that getting that done, we will be caught up. Okay, we'll be caught up. Okay. That's good news. Well, that's
You say June completion, that's a bound copy and so forth?
Yes, I'm gonna be honest with you, it's gonna be tight, but, as we have discussed, we're making some modifications to the duties that I'm doing so that I can focus on the audit, so that we can get it done. It is gonna be a tight deadline because it took probably 2 or 3 months to do the financial statement part of the audit, so it's gonna be tight. But, you know, that's the tentative agreement that we've had with LGC and talking with Susan and Sharon, so we can get caught up. So at that point, when we get to July 1 of 2022, the fiscal 22 audit where we are now is due no later than December 1 at midnight, okay? So we've got a little bit of time in there. So we've already been talking, I've talked with the auditors about scheduling field work so that we can get done and be on time with that. So I just think that's really good, positive news, that there's been a lot of people that have worked very hard on this, and I really appreciate all the effort and the support that I've been given to try to get this done, because it has really been a job. I have in your packets, I did this little fund balance governmental funds in your packet. So what this is, the top part of this actually comes out of the audited fund. It's in what's called the statistical section. The statistical section is prepared by staff and it is not audited. But what I wanted to give you is to show you, I want you to look at the top part where it talks about general funds. So you have general fund and below that's other governmental funds. But where you see highlighted in yellow is that fund balance percentage that we talk so much about. If you scroll all the way to your far right under 2020, you see 9.38%, okay? So that's that magical number that the LGC says has got to be above 8%. Now, I have talked to y'all for 2 years that we were not sure that that number, if it would not go below 8%. It's at 9.38%. So it's not much, but we'll take an extra 1.38%. What I wanted to point out to you is just that table that I have below that's colored in blue and white. Those are the pieces of debt that the council has taken to the city of Goldsboro. Some of it's been street, some of it's been W.A. Foster, Bryan Multi-Sports Complex, and so forth. So in 5 fiscal years, from fiscal 15 through fiscal 19, the city's taken on $39.2 million in debt, just in the general fund. This is not utility fund stuff. Plus, what's not showing on this sheet is we had a $1.75 million commitment to Tiger. We did not borrow any money for that, even though it had been talked about by previous administrations. So out of that, the general fund paid $1 million of that. So what I want you to look at is if you go about into the middle of the page where it says 2015, and you scroll down about middle where it says fund balance percentage was 51.23%. Now, the reason that number, part of the reason it gets so high is because there's been a lot of debt. That's why I gave you the table below. So when you look at all that debt that came on board from 15 until 2019, because if you remember, I came in January and the city took like, it's like $4 million in street bond debt in December just before I got here. So that's all part of that number. So I think what's important to realize is not to be so short-sighted or short-focused to say, oh my goodness, fund balance went down $2 million, you're at 9.38% in fiscal 20. What's important to realize, it is kind of the winding down of like a 5-year project. So stuff we do doesn't happen in 30, 60, 90 days. It happens over years. It happens over various councils. So just kind of keep that long-term perspective in your mind, and that the story that we're showing and sharing with you today is that it's getting better, because as I gave y'all that November update, and I showed we were $2+ million in general fund, utility fund. Things they're going to turn around. So when we can get done with the 21 audit, hopefully at the end of June or beginning of July, then we can tell an additional story where that picture starts going on the up. So I just wanted to share that with you, just to give that little sneak peek ahead, since you're not going to see anything until the 1st of March, and I'd be glad to take any questions.
Amortizations on most of those bonds are 10-year or 15-year amortizations.
Yes, sir. Most of them are 10 or 15. Yes,
10 or
sir.
15 amortizations.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That is correct. And we're gonna see when we do the 2023 budget, there was a refinancing of this building. I think it was a combination of this building and the Paramount. So we're gonna have a big chunk of debt service that's gonna drop off when we do the fiscal 23 budget, which is gonna help. It's gonna give us a little bit of room that some things that might need to be done, we'll be able to get done. I haven't prepared the schedules yet to put in the budget, but that's all happening right now. I'm actually working on budget sheets so we can get those out to the side. But, any other questions?
Because it's actually gonna be going down.
Yes, sir, that's right, because we haven't taken on much debt.
Yeah.
So the 3 years
Yeah, I
we've
don't
been
think
here,
I-
it's just been about $3 million worth of debt, certainly not in comparison to 39.3, so yes, you're gonna start seeing that kind of curve now. Yes, sir.
Since it's already come up in conversation, the fund balance, the magical 8%, is that because it's 1/12 of the year?
It is.
Can you talk a little bit about what that 8% would represent? Why 8%? In what case scenario would we ever need 8% of our total budget sitting in cash?
So the reason that they really want you to have, well, that's really like the absolute bottom, but they want you to have at least the 8% because cash flow, paying bills. And I would tell you, as from a standpoint of this budget that we manage here is about 65 million. I managed a budget at the other unit I was at was over 105 million. 8% is not enough. 8%, you're pay your bills timely. And then if you had a major disaster, you know, FEMA disaster, flood, hurricane, whatever, that you could react to it, and then you could make sure that emergency response happened, and then you could pay the bills. So that was essentially one of the big reasons they want you to have that. Now, I would say units our size, which we do not have an electric system in ours, they're running about 40%. And as I've mentioned before, Susan and Sharon at LGC would really like to see us have that probably 30 to 40%. I would say that I would be comfortable if we were at like maybe 22 to 25, but that's, yeah, exactly. So that's not, I mean, that's my personal opinion, but the council does whatever it feels is best for the city, so.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions?
Good news.
It is good news,
Thank you.
positive news, yes. Thank you, and thank y'all for your support. We all appreciate it very much.
Thank you for
We
your.
appreciate you for your work.
Yes, sir, thank you.
We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, next item is the ARP item. Mr. Salmon?
Yes, sir. I'd like to discuss the American Rescue Plan Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Funds final guidance. As a little bit of background, in March 2021, the ARPA State and Local Fiscal Recovery Funds were provided to state and local tribal governments with the resources needed to respond to the pandemic and its economic effects. On May 10th, 2021, the U.S. Department of Treasury issued its interim final guidance. On May 17th, 2021, the City Council accepted $8.8 million in ARPA grant funds. And on June 21st, 2021, the City Council adopted the Grant Project Fund for the ARP Special Revenue Fund with expenditures of $1.6 million for lost revenue, $2.6 million for water, sewer, and broadband infrastructure as identified in the FY 21 and 22 budget, and $4.6 million for contingency. On January 6, 2022, the U.S. Treasury issued its final guidance implementing ARPA statutory provisions on eligible and ineligible uses for the state local fiscal recovery funds, which provides broader flexibility and greater simplicity in the program. One of the most significant changes in the final rule is a standard allowance for revenue loss of up to $10 million, not to exceed the awarded amount for each recipient, which in our case is $8.8 million. Given this flexibility, staff recommend the full award, $8.8 million, be applied to lost public sector revenue to fund general government services, primary salary, and benefits. The allowable expenditures would include any payroll for a legally authorized function of the government, such as public safety, environmental health, recreation, administration, and public utilities. This will simplify the compliance requirements under uniform guidance and replace tax and utility revenue that can then fund previously agreed water and sewer infrastructure and other expenditures as determined by council under North Carolina law. If council approves this change, the finance director will bring back a project budget amendment to council at the next meeting in March to amend the grant project related to the SLFRF award. Recommendation is for council to approve utilizing the standard allowance for revenue loss for the full SLFRF award of $8.813, $514. Pending any questions, I request a vote to approve this.
Does everyone understand what you just said?
I would like for you to, while I have read this, if you could just simplify,
Okay,
please.
To simplify, we've been given authority to use all of our $8.8 million in the general fund, or you can use it in the utility fund. There's lots of different ways we can use it. It can be applied against personnel, is what the staff is recommending, because it's very easy to track and very easy to report on. And then what would normally have funded tax revenue for personnel can be utilized as we deem appropriate, with then applying North Carolina state law rather than federal law. So federal law under uniform guidance has a lot of restrictions that you'd have to apply to. You need to have a program manager overseeing a lot of different things. In this case, Catherine is, I think the finance department can oversee the funds if we put them towards personnel costs for their payroll, etc.
Okay. I understand that. Thank
Okay.
you. My question is, well, maybe I don't understand it, so let me ask the question. So what you're saying is that funding is now going to fall under what you're saying, but it can only be used based on the recommendation of the staff.
I urge the manager, let's go ahead and try to get it done so I can get the staff started. But we can go ahead and get started on keying the payroll to do the 1.6 million. And if we have to, and we've got to shift it and put it in the 2023 budget to do the other 4.5 million, we can. And if at that point in time, you know, you've resolved your questions and you feel comfortable to vote, to move it to lost public sector or whatever, you know, you want to do, we can at that point. I mean, that's fine. We can work with it.
So March 7th is okay.
I'm fine. I'm totally fine with that. Yes, ma'am. I mean,
Thank you.
obviously, better would be sooner, but it's okay. We can work with it.
I appreciate it.
I just have a the problem with March or February. My problem is I want to help the finance department as much as I can to get that. I don't see that another month, that another 2 weeks makes a lot of difference. And we'll have time in February to go through this.
I think so. And like I said, it makes it a little bit cleaner because the decision's made. But if the council's got some, you know, worries about that, it's fine. Another month is perfectly fine. We'll get through fiscal 22.
Our budget preparations start in March.
Yeah.
Correct?
Well, yes, we'll start, so the manager's office will start meeting with departments in March. We're getting the budget sheets ready now so departments can start putting that stuff in. So yes, it's cranking up right now, but you won't see a whole lot of activity until March. And with the unit assistance letter, the agreement that we have to turn the budget into the LGC by the 15th of May. So you all will actually have the budget in hand probably a good 3 or 4 weeks earlier than you've had before, which is good because it gives you time to review it and have some time to look and ask questions.
So my
Okay,
question-
for those of you who understand this, and Councilman Aycock did a very good job of explaining that. I still am not understanding all of this, and I am a very intelligent woman, but I would like to have time to look at this. However, if you call a vote and you decide that you want to do it in February, then I have no other choice but to rush and look at this.
I'm not asking us
So
to
that's my
rush.
final say. Haste makes waste. And when someone doesn't understand something, then out of respect, you should allow them to understand it so that they can make a good decision. That's
I'm not
my
asking you to
opinion.
rush. What I'm just saying is, my suggestion right now is to let's not do anything tonight. And then when we have our retreat, see if all your questions have been answered by the retreat. And if we can make a vote at the retreat, then we make a vote at the retreat.
Okay, now I can
If
agree
not-
with that. I can agree with that, yes.
I'm not gonna try to undermine anybody's, their understanding of this.
Thank you.
And, I'm not trying to say I am trying to undermine it. And I'm not gonna try to make y'all make a decision you don't feel comfortable with. What I'm trying to say is, let's see if we can't get it done as soon as y'all feel comfortable. That's the only thing I'm saying. If you don't feel comfortable in the 21st and 22nd of February, then we'll just extend it until the first meeting in March. But no later than the first meeting in March, we will have to make a decision.
Thank you, and I can agree to that.
I go with that.
What about you,
I know we all
Councilwoman?
get a subscription to the NCLM magazine, and I know North Goldsboro was showcased as far as allocation of these funds. So I think, like you said, I've been kind of updating myself on this, and but like I said, by that meeting we haven't decided, and there still needs to be some points of clarity made at that point. But like I said, as far as tonight deciding, I mean, let's say we got 2 weeks for the retreat. I mean, between now and then, and if we need to extend out after that, I'll have some questions, more questions to ask at that point too. That's why I'm kind of being quiet tonight. But I think, like I said, if we don't necessarily have to vote on it tonight, we can wait till the retreat then, see if we have any questions thereafter. Would that be a proper protocol to do that?
And we can defer it till the retreat. Is everyone in agreement with that?
Fine with me. Okay, no problem.
Okay. Tim, if you'll put it on the agenda for the retreat.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next item is the Goldsboro Event Center Departmental Oversight change.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
Good evening.
We come before you here to propose a departmental shift of oversight of the Goldsboro Event Center from the Paramount Theater to the Goldsboro Golf Course. We have some reasons that I'll go through here. A little bit of history for those who may or may not know about that. This was the Goldsboro Country Club, purchased and renovated by the city in 2015. Operations were transferred from Goldsboro Parks and Recreation to Paramount. They was in Parks and Recreation during the overhaul, and then transferred to Paramount in 2016. The site includes an 18-hole municipal golf course, pickleball courts, clay tennis courts. And the facility itself has a ballroom. You're familiar with that. We'll be there in a couple of weeks for retreat. Dining room, bar, kitchen, patio, pro shop, and locker rooms. The utilities, maintenance, and certain amenities are between the GEC and the Goldsboro Golf Course right now, between the budgets. And the GEC is rented to the public for weddings, banquets, conferences, meetings, etc. It's available for city department use at no charge and may be used for city-sponsored community activities at the discretion of the department head and city manager. Prior to COVID-19, which was it derailed all event center activity for a period of time. It was growing by an average of about 20% per year. What we propose is that the oversight be transferred to the golf course, which is a division of Parks and Rec. We feel that this integration of the two together will allow us to operate more efficiently, and it will avail us to more greater activity with the increased use of the golf course that we've been seeing during the pandemic and since. I think that it's really seeming to be a vital with activity, while the event center is still rebounding from that the closure and kind of softer activity. And putting them together, the maintenance, groundskeeping, custodial staff can be shared throughout the site and facility. The activity can be more effectively aligned with those increasing tournaments and public use of the golf course. And finance will no longer need to split utility bills and vendor contracts between the two departments. The budget impact we expect to be modest. We expect it to be positive. Reduced overhead, maintenance, and administrative expenses. Increased revenue from additional bar and space rental activity. We project 15-22% increase in revenue immediately. In the rest of this fiscal year, community activities and programs can be explored for new revenue streams. The existing personnel would be the event center manager, who we actually are interviewing for right now. Our event center manager was enthusiastic about this proposal, but then got a nice offer elsewhere and has moved on. And so we are currently we have some excellent applicants, and we're going to make have those interviews this week and next week. Right now we have a patron services and operational assistant who's a permanent part-time employee, Jamie Tyler, who has worked at the Paramount for several years and then has been at least second in command at the event center, heading up staffing for the events and such, with a flexible schedule. We have several building attendants who are event specific, so we're really carrying very little overhead on personnel right now. And then I am the director of the event center right now. I do have an extensive background in hospitality as well as theater, so it was a good fit, but I can also see where the benefit is of moving this toward the and linking it to the operation of the golf course. The proposed personnel would be Obi, the director of golf, would now oversee the GEC together with the Goldsboro Golf Course. Kyle Hope, who's our clubhouse manager over there right now, and then the person who we're interviewing for right now. Between the three, we get to be a little bit more efficient. This is an operation that is days, nights, and weekends, so anytime that we can save by not staffing both sides at the same time, if it's not essential, then that becomes a more efficient operation. And then Jamie Tyler, continuing on potentially in this position with the Patron Services and Operational Assistant, heading up our event-specific staff at that time. So this it was a new operation back in 2016, and since I arrived in 2019, we've seen it continually increase the revenue. In 2019, of course, was the last year that before it was closed in 2020, and it was showing a good progression, and we expect that to bounce back, but we don't expect it to be particularly robust for a little while still. We have a solid schedule ahead, but we have not seen a return of the midweek activity that we've had in the past, not to the level that we have expected or desired. And so with the activity at the golf course, we think that we can weave those together and really make something special happen and have a greater amount of activity. The revenue, it has been, again, steadily increasing, but it has never covered the expenses yet. However, when we've added in the use of the city, the cost or the value of the use by the city, we start to get close to covering the expenses that we've had. And again, it's been a trend that we've been watching for years. Even if it was predating me, I'm able to see what those numbers are. Budget impact, no additions to staff salary or investments in facility and equipment would be required to make this change. The management team will seek value-adding amenities and modifications to be proposed in future budget years. And we see, again, a net benefit from increased use and efficiency in this first year, the remainder of this first year, at potentially around $25,000. So we recommend that this is something that we do. It's not it's not a major budget line item, perhaps in the scope of the city at large. But we think that anything that we can do to enhance that efficiency and add value is going to be beneficial. So if there are any questions.
How about the gentleman standing beside you?
This is Obi.
Do you have any comments, Obi?
Actually, I don't. First of all, good evening, Mayor, Council.
Good evening.
I thought of this. I've been thinking about it from the day I was hired. My goal was to, of course, the concern was to get Goldsboro close to breaking even, so the city won't have to subsidize the golf course. Well, we've done that for 2 years now. Well, hopefully we're going to finish off this year with it. And I just felt like it's still lacking. Even when I was there, I saw it was still lacking. The clubhouse should be part of the golf course, and not. It will eliminate a lot of channels that I have to jump through in order to use their facility if I were over it. And so it was my proposal that actually started this. When I brought it up to Adam, I felt like it was a great idea, and he'd actually thought in that line also. So the goal is, as usual, to try and still create revenue streams for the golf course and the event center, so that we can still continue to show a profit or break even at the end of the year. We have the bar that we're not utilizing right now. We'd like to get that open. We're not serving food. We'd like to get that open, at least to a certain level open anyway. Those are just avenues we're not tapping in. And then the tournaments we're having, of course, COVID had us outside, eating outside. But now we can use indoors. We get to showcase what we have. Today I was visited by somebody who wants to have his funeral there. It's actually funny. Walked in, has stage 4 cancer, lives right behind the golf course. Says if he wants to go, he wants to go on hole number 9. So, so I mean, we have there's just a broad wet options that we could use if both. A what?
Event scheduling.
Event. The Rec 1 is a good event
That
schedule.
handles
Yes.
the schedules
Sure
for the
can.
event center?
And as far as concessions, if we do food and the bar, my system can handle that. It's designed to do retail, restaurant, and golf.
Okay.
So as far as, I mean, we won't need to reach out and rent, buy, get any other software in order to keep it running. So it actually, we plan to enhance the ability to actually use the space. I don't think there's an option to book the space online.
Not yet, but we
Yeah.
were just talking about that this morning, so.
So that could be done.
And right now, people have to come in and with a check or cash for making their payments, deposits, and payments along the way. And we would like to make that an online transaction as well. And I think together, I mean, Parks and Rec already has a terrific online option for many things, and I think that we can integrate that. And have that as part of what the event center can do. I think there's just a lot more we can do, a lot more potential, and it's a beautiful facility. It's a better facility when it's aligned with a beautiful golf course.
We recently hosted mayors and commissioners from Eastern North Carolina there, and we received a tremendous amount of compliments about that facility, both publicly as well as one-on-one time. So you're right, it is a great facility. Anyone else have any questions? Does anyone, do we need to have a motion, or does anyone agree with the change over here? Motion. We need a motion. Okay,
I
I'm
do.
told we need a motion. So we'll have a motion that we transfer the management of the golf course from the Paramount to the Director of Golf Facilities.
Okay, I'll second.
We got a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your
Make a
hand.
motion.
Those opposed? We have none, the motion's carried.
Who made the motion?
Al Watson.
We heard Councilman Broadway second, we didn't hear who made the motion.
I said motion, but I was
I thought
answering.
you motioned.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was answering that we needed a motion, but I'll make the motion.
Okay.
I thought
Yeah.
you made the motion.
Yeah, I said motion, you know, but,
I thought that was the
okay,
way it went.
all right.
Okay, done.
Great. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, item E, Mr. Manager.
Laura, boards and commissions?
I'll make this very quick. I've given you a copy of my little speech tonight, but I'm going to forego most of that in the lieu of time. We do have 4 vacancies on several boards and commissions, and I'll bring this item back to the March 7th meeting for you guys to make recommendations to that board, and I'll bring the resolution appointing those members back at the March 21st meeting. I do need you guys to review the boards and commissions calendar that was given to you by the email as well as in front of you. I have one major change, which is a time change. It was listed as planning commission was meeting at 5:30. They actually meet at 6. So if you would not mind, if you guys would reapprove that calendar for me, and we'll get it reposted.
Madam Clerk, will you, before that March 7th meeting, while we're considering the appointments, can you give us a breakdown of the members and what district they represent so we can do fair representation at that?
Yes, ma'am. I have that for you. I'll send it to you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions on the changes that Laura mentioned? If not, could I have a vote to approve the boards and the commission's revisions, calendar revisions?
So moved.
Got a motion to approve, is there a second? Second. Got a second? All in favor, raise your hand. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Now, Mr. Manager, on item E.
Yes, sir. I want to inform council that I approved an emergency purchase of a $57,000 engine motor replacement for fire engine number 4, which is a 12-year-old apparatus currently out of service. This is a firefighter and public safety issue. We're relying on a 24-year-old backup reserve vehicle with essentially 500,000 miles worth of engine time on it. The motor replacement is not a budgeted item, so we may need to come out of fund balance
Okay,
Thank you, Ken.
that concludes the items for the first session, the work session. If there are no other discussion items, we'll take a motion to recess until, we'll recess until 7 o'clock. Recess.
Lord.
Okay, it's 7 o'clock, Monday, February 7th, 2022. The regular session of the Goldsboro City Council is called to order. This time I would invite Archbishop Anthony Slater to come forward and give us a prayer for the meeting, and then we'll follow that with the pledge of allegiance. So if you stand, please.
Good evening, everyone. Shall we pray? Our Father and our God, we thank you for this moment that we can come together and just call on your name. Father, we ask you to bless these who have coming to do the bidding for the people, the ones that are hearing our voice and preparing this city to go to the next level. Father, we thank you. We thank you for all the things that are happening, the good and the bad even preparing us to appreciate the good. Now, Father, we ask you, Lord, for guidance tonight. We ask you, Lord, to help us as we continue to press toward the mark. Thank you for Goldsboro. In all these things we pray, amen.
Amen.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Bishop. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Madam Clerk, if you would call the roll, please.
Mayor Ham,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Polak,
Present.
Councilwoman Jones,
Present.
Councilman Broadway,
Here.
Councilwoman Matthews,
Present.
Councilman Gaylor,
Present.
Councilman Aycock.
Here.
Okay, we're all here. Next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes on January 24th, the work session and the regular meeting minutes. May I have a motion to approve those?
Second.
We have a motion to approve and second. Any opposed? Okay. Motion approved. Okay, our presentations, I think we have someone from the Kiwanis Club to come speak.
Mayor David,
you needed to vote on
Mayor
that.
Ham,
I'm sorry.
we need a.
I'm sorry. I got it. We had a motion and a second. I'm sorry. All in favor of approving the minutes of January 24th, 2022, raise your hand. Those not favored, there are none. Motion's carried and approved. Thank you. Now we can go to the presentation. Good evening, sir.
Well, good evening. I'm Chip Craig with the Kiwanis Club in Goldsboro, and I'm happy to be here to do an update presentation on where we are with the status of the miniature train. Is the presentation coming up?
I think so.
You just press the
Middle button.
middle button, okay?
Yes,
If just a quick reminder, we call it the Kiwanis Miniature Train at Herman Park. The reality is, it is a City of Goldsboro miniature train. You guys own the existing train. You will own the new train that is coming. Basically, as a Kiwanis Club, we are stewards of that train for you, and our responsibility is we operate it for the city. We have done that for 67 years now. 100% is volunteers. Nobody's ever gotten paid to do that. It is a, am I doing that or are you doing that? Let me see. So it's been going on for 67 years. It's an iconic part of the city. Some people I know have had 4 generations now that have ridden the train. I don't know if we have 5 generations, but I know we have at least 4 generations that have ridden that train. It's been featured in our state magazine several times. But we had a discussion about what we needed to do with the train. We came to the conclusion in late June of this year the train was going to have to be replaced if we wanted to keep going for another 40, 50, 60, 70 years. So at that time, we came before the city council, and we asked you on August 16th, we asked a few things. We asked for your permission that the Kiwanis Club could initiate a fundraising campaign on behalf of the city to raise the funds needed to replace the train, and do you approve that? We asked that you allow us to use the reserve funds that we had set aside as required by the city, that we had those. Just like you heard about the fire truck a minute ago, nobody wanted unexpected expense, so we asked you to allow us to use the reserve funds that we had down payment for the new train. You approved that. You gave us permission to work with the city staff on the design and the plans of what was going to be coming for the upgraded experience. And an important aspect as well is number 4 was if the old train was to be sold, then any proceeds from that train would not be used just in the general city coffers, but instead would come back to the Kiwanis Club specifically for this train replacement project.
Chip, 1 second. Is this a PowerPoint? Because it looks like he's not able to.
It is a.
This looks like
No,
a
one is
different.
PowerPoint, or it's also it's a.
I think
PDF.
this is a P.
It's a PDF, but it should be able to go either way.
Okay.
Last time it was a PDF file we did, so. If not, there's somebody, I can tell them when to move the slides if we need to, so.
Doesn't have to scroll it. I think he's gonna do it for you, I think.
Okay, that would be fine.
The old-fashioned way of
what-
just yelling slide.
Yeah, I'll just have to yell, next slide. Yeah, can we go?
Where you wanna go?
To the next slide. I'll just say next slide, right there is fine. On October 31st, on Halloween Day, we finished our 67th season of running this train. We had over 12,000 riders in the regular season. That is an absolute record for us. By the time we throw in the Polar Express and the other extended runs we did, we probably had close to 18,000 riders this year. And that is absolutely phenomenal. Next. Since then, on November 4th, we had a very cold groundbreaking day. Many of you were there. We planned on running the train that day. We'd had phenomenal, great weather all year where we could run the train almost any time we wanted to. On that particular day, if you remember, it was about 45 degrees and raining, and we could not run the train. Next. And then we normally do the jingle in the park, which is normally 1 or 2 days of riding the train. We expanded that this year to do the Polar Express, so we ran the next 2 weekends on extended runs. And you will see a couple pictures there. You may see that we're actually a dog-friendly, pet-friendly ride there. You'll see Mayor Ham happened to be there with his dogs. And you'll see on the far right-hand side where it says 1953 train retired on December 18, 2021. At about 8:30 on that night, that was the last run of this train. The mayor had the opportunity to be on the train for that particular run. And then we put it away in the tunnel. We had everything decorated. And we left it that way for a couple of days. We left the lights on, everything else. It just kind of felt like a fitting way to retire the train that had been running for over 67 years. Excellent. All right, here we go. All right. Let's go back and look at the budgets. In August of 2021, on the left-hand side, we said that it was going to be about $110,000 for the new train. $10,000 it was going to cost us for the bricks because we're going to do fundraising bricks, and about $30,000 for a train platform of some type, if funds allowed, and we needed about $150,000 to get there. Right now, as today, we're looking at still $110,000 for a new train. We're looking at $24,000 for what's going to cost of the bricks. That's an increase in expense, but you know what's good about that? That means that a lot more people bought a lot more bricks than we anticipated, and that meant our fundraising goal was more than met. And so when we figure we're done with that, we have about $68,000 cash funds that will be available to construct the platform. That is a significant increase. So about $202,000 total. If we go back and look at how the funding was originally, here's how we planned on funding this. $50,000 from that legacy fund, the reserve fund that you allowed us to pull down, and we did that. We figured about $25,000 we sold the old train would go towards the new train. And to me, I thought this was a stretch, but about $75,000 from donations from our community, our citizens and our businesses. You look at the right-hand side, we still have that $50,000 that we put into that train. There is zero money going from the new train to be sold to go into that. $152,000 in cash donations from this community for this train. That is absolutely phenomenal, exceeds our wildest dreams, and that is still on the low end, because I got a call again today from somebody saying, hey, they wanted to contribute a significant amount of money for that. So we think that more money is going to be coming in here. So that's a good thing. So we know we have about $202,000 total in cash that we can spend on this project. Of that $152,000, I can tell you right now that as of about 3 o'clock this afternoon, $129,000 that was sitting in our foundation bank account. We had about $23,000 we knew was still coming in from people that committed, and we absolutely know that's going to be there. And then I got a call from the train manufacturer saying, I need another $25,000 to go to the next step on the train. So I'm now down to $104,000 because we released $25,000 more to him for the train. That $202,000 does not include the gifts in kind that we're going to talk about in a minute. So the fundraising, $152,000. So you see the golden tickets, that's $65,000. We had 12 reserved seats on the train. So if you contributed $5,000, you wanted your name on the seat, you could do that. Somehow we ended up selling 13 instead of 12. That created a little bit of problem with somebody whose name is actually going to go on the engine. We had 12 donors who gave at the $2,500 level. $1,000 level, we had 16 donors, and we had 15 donors give us $500 or more. But what I really want to focus attention on is that yellow graph. That $34,000 doesn't sound like a whole lot from the citizens, but that is nickels and dimes and dollars and $5 and $100 donations that hundreds of citizens of this community stepped forward to give towards that train. It's that $34,000 that really helps us do a whole lot more than we planned on doing. Also, let me just go back. I learned two things as well on this. Never underestimate the power of a mother. On that $5,000 column over there, those golden tickets, I had a call from an individual back in late January who said he wanted to donate $5,000 from his business. Somebody I did not know, they were not on any of our list, to say this is somebody we should approach. When I asked the person, well, why do you want to do this? They said, well, my mother rode the train during the Polar Express, had one of your cars, and she called me up and said, you need to contribute to this project. So we appreciate that little motherly nudge there. Community gifts in kind. It's hard for us to put a value on this, but I can tell you right now it is significant, as you will see in a moment. We have what we call a construction coalition of partners that are donating their time, their talents, their expertise, and their labor for the construction and the improvements. What they do significantly magnifies the amount of money we have, because if the money we have towards the construction is used primarily for materials and not for labor, we can do a whole lot more. I also have a group that two individuals contacted and said that what they would like to do is they had the equipment to do it. They would like to go to Lufkin, Texas when the train's ready, pick it up and bring it back here. That saves us $5,000 because that was going to be a $5,000 hard cost. The contractor and transportation company to get that train here. So that's a huge savings. So again, of that $110,000 we set aside for the train, here's an additional $5,000 that's now freed up that we can use towards other upgrades. Let's look at our construction coalition partners. We were approaching and talking to each of these companies individually, and they don't know me. I know some of these people, they don't necessarily know me. I'm not a construction person. I don't run in that circle necessarily. But a lot of those people said, yeah, they were willing to help. I was in communication with David Perry with Goldsboro Builder Supply, and he and I were exchanging some emails, and about a week or so before Christmas, he asked me for a whole lot of details about what is the cost going to be, what do you think about a design, and things like that. So I sent him a detailed email, and it was 6 or 7 pages of information and details that he was looking for. But I said to him, I said, the number one thing I need is I need somebody who can get all these people, potential stakeholders, in the room at the same time. If we can do that, we think we can do a lot, because talking to everybody individually was like kind of herding cats. Probably the best Christmas gift I've gotten in a long time is at 8:30 in the morning on Christmas morning. I got an email from David saying that he was all in for Goldsboro Builder Supply, and he would take the point, he would be in charge, he would make that kind of meeting happen. That's exactly what we needed to have happen. In late January, he pulled together all kinds of different individuals, and they had a meeting, and what came out of that, TA Loving Company said they were going to step up. They are now the construction supervisors, managers, planners, providing all the labor, all the budgeting. They're taking control of the project from that aspect. That is significant. You just can't put a value on that because there's a lot of money that's being involved in that. Jeremy Smith of J. Smith Civil said he'd take care of all the groundwork that needed to be done, all the grading, everything that needed to be done to prep for the brick patio. Wayne Electric and Seegers Fence said, yep, they were all in to take care of the electrical part. We got to rework some of the fencing in there. Seegers take care of that. Joe Smith of Smith's Engineering Design said he would take care of doing all the architectural drawings. And Brian Jones was civil engineering. Came up and said, yeah, he would take care of doing what needed to be done on civil engineering designs in order to get that brick patio laid and take it all through the planning commissions and everything else. TA Loving said, hey, we'll guide you through the historic commission, everything that needs to be done. This is significant. I don't know how to put a dollar figure on there, but it's a significant dollar figure, what these people done. I think somebody in this council asked me a few months ago, are you going to use local people? I think the answer is yes. And it's not that we have to contract with local people. They have stepped forward to say, we want to make a difference in this community. So what's going to happen with the cash funds that are donated, this $152,000 plus? I can tell you right now, 100% every penny will be spent on this upgrade project. None of the donated cash funds are going to be used to replenish that reserve fund where we pull that up, put the down payment. None of those funds are being used for any kind of expenses in any way, shape, or form. The Kiwanis Club is not using that for anything like groundbreaking ceremonies, anything like that. We feel that when people say we want to give towards this project, a new train and the upgrade, that 100% of those dollars and pennies should go towards that project. That's exactly what's going to happen. There are no overhead expenses or anything else. 100% of every dollar is going to go right into this project to make an improvement for the city. Where are we now? There are really three phases. One's the train, two is that brick patio we're going to construct, three is the construction of some kind of platform. Phase one, new train, Swanee River Railroad Company is making the train. I received these pictures last week. The train is almost finished. Right now we're kind of waiting for it to go to the paint shop. When we started the project, we were about a 10-month lead time, and Todd Swan said that with the train, he said, when we gave him the money, it would probably be about June before we'll have the train. That was kind of disappointing. I was in shock on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. He called me and said, we're way ahead of schedule because he had another train just like this when he was manufacturing, so he could do kind of two of them side by side at the same time, do some things, get some a little bit time savings there. And he said, I think the train will be ready for you about the first week of February, which is right now. We've been in communication, but unfortunately, thanks to the new Omicron version of COVID, his shop has been hit hard by that. And then where the train is sitting right now, and several trains he's working on, these are all custom made. They're waiting on the painters to go to the paint shop, and the paint shop has been shut down for 6 weeks now for COVID. So we're a few weeks behind, so we think that we're going to be in the stage that probably in late March we should be able to take delivery of the train. We were talking about expanding the patio area around the concession stand. The pink area in there is the existing footprint of the concession stand or train station. Everything is gray and blue is existing concrete, and the areas that are green are areas we're going to expand into. Everything right now is going to be replaced with brick pavers, so it's all going to be bricked in, or actually full-size bricks. It'll be a significant improvement. We have 583 individual bricks there. Into this design, we are incorporating lots of literacy elements. So we are trying to make this a come-to place for kids when the train's not running. It's still going to come there and be educational. learning experience, literacy experience. One of our $5,000 donors, when we laid out this plan for them, they called us back up a couple days later and said, we already gave you $5,000. Because we're so all about literacy, we want to give you an additional $2,500 to help underwrite the cost of those literacy bricks. So again, people have really stepped in and helped us out in a lot of different ways. The reason we want to do this, if the slide will change, is this is what the area looks like around the existing train station. It's all dirt and mud. It's not very attractive. So everything you see there, all that gray area, is going to be a nice brick patio at some point. That's a significant improvement, we think, for Herman Park. From this angle, everything you see is all going to be brick pavers. That will be a big improvement. We just think that's if we did nothing but get a new train and do the brick patio, we think that's a big improvement for Herman Park. The other thing we've been working on the city with designs and everything else. The city and the Parks and Recreation Department, they received a recent grant to put in some ADA compliant sidewalks in the area, in the park. Right now, to get to the train station, you have to walk through dirt, mud. There's no sidewalks or anything, any kind of access here. So working with the city, they've been working on designs and stuff. Because we're doing this, and they've decided that if the funds allow them to do everything they want to do, great. If the funds don't allow them to do everything that they want to do, what Parks and Recs would like to do is a 5 foot wide ADA compliant sidewalk that would come from the parking lot up to this brick patio, and then on the back side it would come off that patio and go to the playground and go out to the back parking lot. It's something we don't have right now, but we think that's going to be a significant improvement as well. And they've given us permission that we can paint all kinds of good things on their sidewalk as long as we maintain it, so we can make the sidewalk educational as well. Phase 3 is what are we going to do as far as construction. We talked about an overhang and everything else, so that we wanted to cover the area. This is a picture of the existing downtown train depot. So our initial thoughts for the $30,000 or so, we try to build something that would kind of look like this, that would go over top of the train and some of the brick areas. Now we're looking at something a little bit different. This is actually a train station in some other part, I think it's in Wisconsin, but that's a miniature train just like ours. You can see that building looks like an old train depot, the way the roof line is and everything else. So now that we have more money available to us, and we think we're going to have probably $75,000 we're going to spend on improvements to the park, and the labor is basically covered. Then we're meeting with TA11 and design folks and stuff. Our plan right now, and we're in this design phase, is probably take the roof off the concession stand, rebuild it to look something like this, integrate the architectural features and make it look like a train depot, and try to do the covered platform area as well, because we have that much more money available to us, and we just think that's just a huge improvement for the community. So what's the future of the old train? That question's being asked. We have decided for a variety of reasons it is best to sell the train, and the reason for that is it's still fully functional and operational. We'd hate to have to tear it apart and gut it to do that, and there are several places that would love to have this train. We think we have set, based on the forums and the groups we're in, this is train number 688, it was the 188th train of these ever built out of about 250. We think the city of Goldsboro, this train has set an operational record for these types of trains. It has been in continuous service for 68 years and has never missed a year. There are older trains out there, but most of these operations have multiple trains. They'll take a train out of service for a few years to rebuild it or fix it up and then put it back into service. So we think based on the feedback we've gotten from the museums and everything else, this train has probably set a record. We'd like to see it continue to set that record. We're operating somewhere else. Currently it's being sold as surplus equipment by the city, which is the way it has to be done. It's listed on the Gov Deals site. The minimum bid for that is $20,000. That sale will close next week on the 16th. But here's the thing, what we're going to do. Instead of that money that we get from the proceeds from there, we're not going to put it back in the train, but instead we're going to take that money, we're going to put it back to partially replenish that reserve fund where we pull $50,000 and get started out of it. We don't need a $50,000 reserve fund right now because we have a new train. We don't expect any huge expenses, but if we can get back to that $20,000 plus, then we're in a pretty good shape in case something goes wrong with the tracks, there are any big expenses. We have that reserve fund in place. And then lastly, what's ahead for all this? Well, we're in a design phase right now, February, March. We'll be coming back to you here sometime in the future through the planning commission, through us saying, here are the design ideas we have. We expect delivery of the train sometime in late March, maybe first part of April. In March and April, we expect the implementation of that brick patio, that we should put that in place. And then probably, because we've expanded what we want to do construction-wise, maybe midsummer before we have the platform in place. The key thing is, we feel since the donors have given us money in order to and get these bricks in order to make this happen, we feel it's absolutely critical that we don't open the train, start running the train until we have that patio in place that has all those bricks there that they paid for to make it happen. So we've got some pressure on us to get that patio part done because we want to do all that together. We can wait a little bit longer on the other construction. In the summer, things really slow down because it's too hot. It's one of the reasons why we want to build a covered area to kind of make it cooler. We continue to operate. So we feel that once we get into it, that we should be able to put ourselves in a position that if we need to stop running for 2 or 3 weeks to get the construction done, or if we have to postpone until the fall, we're very comfortable doing that. And then we just want to thank everybody. I want to thank the community that's out there and all the supporters, because this is not something that Kiwanis Club could have done for the city. This is being done by the community for the city of Goldsboro, because they feel that this is an important thing. And I kind of want to thank the Kiwanis members for 60, 70 years. People have been donating and volunteering their time to get that train running. And I appreciate all those that have come before me for decades to make that happen and bring us to this point. So thank you.
Appreciate that.
Any questions?
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, one last thing while I'm here, City of Goldsboro Train 2022.com. We have semi-officially closed out our fundraising campaign. However, if for some reason anybody wants to continue to donate, we are at that limit. When I say we're at the deadline, I'm saying tonight or tomorrow. The only reason you still have the opportunity to donate and get a brick is because we're waiting on some of the finalization of the graphics department for the brick company. The corporate bricks and things that we have integrated, that we're using the corporate logos and they have to be laser engraved, and the graphics department of the brick company is finalizing that, and because they haven't quite finalized that yet, but that could happen. We're hoping to happen today, or it may happen tomorrow. As soon as that happens, then we're done. So if you haven't had the opportunity, you still have the opportunity to get a brick probably by about noon tomorrow. So thank you. Any other questions or any comments?
Mr. Craig, I know you're very passionate about this, and I've seen you up here, I've seen you out at the park, and your wife as well. And I can't say enough about your dedication to this project. You've been out there in rain, cold, hot, heat, and so forth. And there's also other members of this organization that are also very dedicated. This is going to be a great addition to the park, and it's going to be enjoyed. This new one's going to be enjoyed like the old one has been enjoyed for generations as well. So I commend you and your wife and all the other members. And I guess Horace Best is probably one of your longtime conductors of the train, isn't he?
Yes, he has. Yeah, he's been a member of our club, I think, since I would say 1977, maybe before then. So he's probably driven that train more than anybody else.
And he drove the last.
Yeah, he drove the last run that you were on, and some of his family and stuff, and put it in the tunnel. So that was an honor for him. I appreciate your kind words. One of the reasons why we took this project is because we just knew that any day something was happening, and it's important to the community, and we'd be out of business for months on end. And we just felt that the best way to keep going for another 50, 60, 70 years was take the time and the effort to try to get a new train in there, so I keep continuing forward. It's an important part of Goldsboro, I think.
And one other thing I want to mention, I think it's pretty clear to most people, but for those that don't know, there are no paid staff of this project in terms of running the train. It's all volunteer. Am I correct?
It is 100% volunteers. None of us have ever gotten paid. It's not an item that's even significant budget item for the city,
Yeah.
because we take that burden as well, on us, and in exchange for that, you allow us to operate it, you allow us to keep the funds that we've raised at the train, but since none of them's ever gotten paid, like we've talked about, 100% of the money we make at the train, we put it right back in the community, into charities, scholarships, supporting various types of programs, things like that. So we don't keep any of that money on the Kiwanis Club side. Anything that goes into that concession stand for train ticket sales and concessions, 100% of it goes right back into the community in a variety of ways. We don't use that to fund parties and things like that. So.
Well, again, thank you for the presentation, and thank you so much for you and your wife and all the other members of that team that makes this happen.
Okay, thank you. We look forward to doing it for many more years. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. At this time, we'll go to the public comment period, and citizens that are in the audience that want to come up and speak, you please do so, and you have 3 minutes to speak. Please announce your name when you come to the podium.
Good evening, Council. My name is Giovanni Moore. A request to the Council in lieu of transparency that you bring back your Finance Director to recap the discussion on the audit tonight, because unfortunately, myself along with a lot of others who was watching online, as soon as Councilwoman Matthews asked a really important question, the sound went off. And I believe Councilwoman Jones also asked a question, but it didn't come in until after Ms. Gwynn's presentation was over, and it got jumbled with some current conversation. But I know it's a serious issue, and like I said, in lieu of transparency, I believe the citizens of Goldsboro want to know the financial health of our city. So maybe Councilwoman Matthews and Jones, in your ending comment, you can recap the questions that you asked and if you got a response to them. Thank you.
I don't think Ms. Gwynn is in the audience.
Or maybe like next
She's
council
not in.
meeting, she could come up
Oh.
and, you know,
She went
just
on.
maybe recap and give it again. I think it's important.
Ms. Moore, was it the audit discussion, or was it the discussion about the $8.8 million that they were trying to reallocate?
I believe you
Or-
said, I need you to clarify, I think,
Yeah.
city manager
Okay.
was
Who's
explaining, you asked, and then that piece of the conversation, we just couldn't hear.
Yeah, it was that one.
Yes, so if you could recap it, I think, you know, a lot of people were really interested in what was being said at that point.
Mr. City Manager, when you give your report, do you mind recapping that piece about the 8.8? When you give your report?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, is there someone else who'd like to speak?
Dr. David Craig. I too was at home watching YouTube because the video feed on Facebook wasn't happening. It wasn't working. But several times during the time when I was watching YouTube, it went silent. I could see you moving, but there were no words. The reason why I'm here is not simply because I want you to do something. I'm demanding that you do the right thing. You see, you can't have personal conversations about city business. They're supposed to be held in a public forum so that the public can have access to it. Well, with today's technology, with virtual meetings, YouTube, and the such like, there is no reason why we can't do this, or why the city of Goldsboro can't do this. In fact, I know for a fact that the city manager has been notified about this issue some weeks ago. Again, it appears to me that there's more of this game plan. And we're tired of it. You know, when you go for a championship, you put your best team on the floor. That's what we need, a good team. We need ball players. We don't need third string players. Okay? And on another note, I was told that, I'll just be direct, that Councilman Gaylor was appointed to shut me down. Let me be direct. I fear no man. Let me be direct. I have took an oath to my higher power that I would take it all the way. And that means I'm gonna tell the truth. And just because I don't give it to you like you want it, or I don't shuck and jive, that's up to you. As long as I don't break any law, that's on y'all. Councilman Aycock, I can recall you saying to Councilwoman Hiawatha Jones, you accused her that she was making a political choice when she didn't vote to raise the utility bill. But yet, when you interviewed Councilman Gaylor, you asked him, did he have any problem disagreeing with you? Well, you had obviously a problem disagreeing with Councilwoman Hiawatha Jones, and you pretty much articulated that. When I watch these city council meetings from at home, I'm gathering data. And I think you all know that I've sent you an analysis.
Okay, sir, your time is up.
Thank you, sir.
My name is Janice Gaines, and I want to thank you, Mayor David Ham, and council members for giving me this time to speak. I would like to give thanks to the public workers who are essential to our city. They improve all of our lives. And this is a letter, and I would also like from the city manager to make sure that the public work department receive a copy. And this, okay, Janice Gaines, greeting of the city of Goldsboro. It has been necessary for me to write this letter to the city of Goldsboro, specifically to the Department of Code Enforcement and Public Works. The community of King Drive in Goldsboro, North Carolina, send a heartfelt thanks out to all involved. For 4 years, I have been calling the city for assistance concerning the wooded area behind my house. This wooded area poses a very dangerous and unsafe environment for families that live in this area. Each year, the calls fell on deaf ears with no help or relief. Due to high shrubbery, bushes, trees, this area became a solid safe haven for all rodents and insects. Possum, large field rats, mice, squirrels, rabbits, and snakes. A large rat did enter into my house.
Hold it a second. Whoever has that phone, I want you to cut it off or leave this council chambers right now. This is the third time I've heard this phone.
And
Don't bring it back in here turned on, sir.
Do you need help silence it?
Maybe I'll get it. I'll do it. You want me
We
to do
don't
it?
need to just kick him out. He needs help trying to silence his phone.
Don't bring it back in here.
Here, can you
just
change
told
your
him to
time?
leave.
Stop the clock.
Reset the time.
Yeah, reset the clock, please.
Oh.
Sorry, Ms. Gaines.
Okay. A large rat did enter my home. Squirrels destroyed my yard and my neighbor barn, and I grassed in the backyard. We spent a great deal of our time raking seasonal fallen leaves from the trees or paying someone to do it. An elderly neighbor fell and injured herself trying to get away from a snake that got into her shed. They crawled on windows and lies in our yard or on the porch. These animals are poisonous and carry viruses and diseases that could pose an unwanted medical situation. We are taxpayers, and our home supposed to be a safe haven, not for the uninvited or unwanted rodents. This became a 4-year mission for me because of the seriousness of the issues and concerns. their own. The flyer that was inserted with the water bill January 2022, the LIHWAP, Low Income Household Water Assistance Program, does not benefit all citizens. To be eligible for this program, the household must have an income equal to or less than 50% of the federal poverty level. This program does not address the concerns that was brought up before the council. Many of our elderly will not qualify. They will be eliminated. I'm requesting that the council member continue looking into a better way to assist the elderly in paying their water bill. We have many senior citizens that are disabled, cannot or do not know how to voice their concerns. We are their voice. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gaines. Leave that with the manager. Ms. Gaines, you were going to give that to the manager?
Oh, yeah. Y'all, I got something else to do with my mind. Okay, one is for the property department, one is for you, Mayor Abraham.
Thank you, ma'am.
And one is for you. You the chief. All right. Make sure that. And we still got a problem, y'all, with the squirrel. Y'all put see our backyard. It's messed up. We don't have a backyard. We need to trim the trees or something, but it's saying we need to do something. All right, thank you.
Okay, Ms. Gaines, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
And one more other thing, I have some good reviews about you, Ms. House from your district, I'm from District 4, from your district. A lot of people proud of what you're doing. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, do we have anyone else to speak?
My name is Don Halliday. First, I'd like to apologize for my cell phone. I'm electronically challenged.
I am too.
I have a bad habit that gets, and I'd like to, if it's all right.
Sure.
Thank you, sir.
I got the other one you gave me. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate it.
That was nothing personal, sir.
I understand.
I know you've been here many times.
That's cool.
We know you're a friend of the city. Thank you so much.
With due respect, what I'd really like to talk to the council about is going to take much more than the 3 minutes allotted on these occasions.
Start his time back at 3 minutes, please. Okay, go
What
ahead,
I'd really like to speak to this council about is going to take entirely more than 3 minutes to make my presentation. And I'm respectfully requesting an opportunity to come before the council to give you a full account. I came to Goldsboro to do a specific job, and I haven't been able to accomplish that job yet, and I want to get it done. I work with young people, and this city, as well as most of the cities in this country, have a very serious problem. There are areas in the city of Goldsboro that are known as prison prep, and it's got to stop. I mean, it's just got to stop. And with due respect, you have my contact information. I'd like to come and meet with the council so I have a presentation I'd like to present.
Sure.
Could he go to the city manager and the clerk and ask for time to make a presentation at one of our regular meetings?
Sure.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, sir.
Anyone else like to speak? Come on up, sir.
Good evening, everybody.
I know what you're going to speak about, but let's introduce it.
Well, you should know my name, Thomas Rice, but anyhow, good evening
Yes,
to
sir.
all y'all, because I'm in the council. But anyhow, I come before you today, and one thing I want to say that I'm proud of and I'm happy about, we received the organization, and the restoration of Hope Village. So I come before y'all this evening to ask that it could of doing something or breaking some kind of law or rules, and how I feel like it'll create harmony, and it also allow us to make money to put toward our project and everything. So there's, like I said, I'm asking if we can, the city, there's surplus or something there, to donate it to us so we can do this. So that's what I got to say for y'all this evening. God, thank you.
Mr. Rice,
Yes,
before
sir.
you go, if you don't mind publicly giving your information, so if somebody at home wants to have some metal or something picked up, I'm in the process of getting my garage renovated. I've got a tin roof. So if you were to give your phone number, if you didn't mind, or your contact information right now, so anybody that may want to donate could call you or text you, because I know of a lot of elderly people that may have metal, soda cans or anything that, any dollar amount will help. So if you don't mind.
They can contact us. You can call me at 919-750-4665, or either you can mail us at mlflinc.2014@gmail.com or on Facebook.
Thomas,
and
right.
if we'll come by, we're gonna go by and pick it up if you want, but if you'd like to, you can be dropped off at our place out on 117 at 1412 US Highway 117 South right there at the old Fat Cat Pawn Shop and everything.
Okay.
So, but if they call us and want us to come pick it up, we'll come out and get it and everything.
Mr. Rice, give that information to our clerk over here so she can have it if anyone calls or we need it for any
Yes, sir.
purpose.
I certainly will. Y'all have a good evening.
You too, sir.
All right, sir, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Anyone else that would like to speak? If so, come forward. Appears that no one else wishes to speak, so we'll move to the next item, City Manager's report. Excuse me.
Consent agenda items.
Move back to the consent agendas. I'm sorry. I got ahead of myself.
Items C and D are presented for council approval.
So we've heard the special use permits explained earlier. Is there a motion to approve items C and D on the consent agenda?
So move.
Second.
Got a first, second. All in favor? Excuse me. I'm
Roll
going
call.
to make a roll call here, Madam Clerk.
Mayor Ham,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Polak,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jones,
Yes.
Councilman Broadway,
Yes.
Councilwoman Matthews, Councilman Gaylor,
Yes.
Councilman Acott.
Yes.
Okay, we got a consensus of approval on the consent agenda items. So now we'll move to the City Manager's report.
All right, sir, I'll apologize for losing the Facebook and YouTube feed. So I believe we was asked to go through new business. payroll for a legally authorized function of the government such as public safety, environmental health, recreation, administration, and public utilities. This will simplify the compliance requirements under uniform guidance and replace tax and utility revenue that can then fund previously agreed water and sewer infrastructure and other expenditures as determined by council under North Carolina law. If council approves this change, the finance director will bring a project budget amendment to council at the next meeting to amend the grant project related to the SLFRF award. Council then determined that they wanted more information, and they would wait until the council retreat to ask additional questions or get additional information on this issue.
Mayor, I hope I'm not out of order. I'm getting texts in left and right. They're still not getting the feed on this.
I got that also. We're not getting the,
It's closed
feed.
cap.
Davis, you look into that? Is it my mic or something?
No.
It's not the mic.
Is closed captioning an option with the council for the words to actually go across? Do we have that technology?
It is, we do have some.
So we need to do.
The feed has to go through for the
What,
audit
to pick
to be able
up,
to
but
even
on
do
which-
it on the Facebook or YouTube feed, so there's gotta be.
So-
now, but it did go.
Yeah, so.
Mayor Ham, IT is gonna take my audio, which will capture the whole meeting and put it up tomorrow. So he'll work in some magic and make sure that everything will be captured tonight. It'll be back up tomorrow,
The
so
audio
everybody
will
can
be
still hear it.
blended in with the video.
He should be able to do that, but regardless, we'll at least we'll have some way for everybody to be able to hear everything.
Okay.
Okay, you don't want me to read it again?
Gotta go with
I think you captured the audio already.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And this item will be back in the agenda packet as well.
Okay.
Do you have other comments?
Yes, I do. I would like to introduce the temporary assistant city manager, Mr. Hugh Rowe O'Donnell. Rowe, stand up. We're very fortunate to have Rowe here for the next 2 months. He basically brings a wealth of experience. He was the assistant city manager and an interim city manager for the town of Wake Forest. He saw excessive growth in that town from, I believe, 9,000 to a little over 40,000. Correct, Rowe? Rowe was also the public utilities director there, and he was the city engineer for the city of Rocky Mount. So we're very fortunate to have Rowe here advising the staff and myself, and he will be helping us prepare for the budget cycle, and then he has a plane ticket back to Ireland at the end of March, so we won't have him beyond that time period, so we have him for 2 months. But Rowe originally is from Ireland, came over to the States, I think in '79, if I remember correctly, and then got your citizenship, and been doing great things ever since, so thank you for joining our team for your time.
It's a pleasure to be here. I look forward to serving you, and also leading the for the mayor and the council. Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Also mentioned, the retreat, again, has been rescheduled from the 22nd and 23rd to the 21st and 22nd at the Goldsboro Event Center. Working on finalizing the agenda for that. Also mentioned for the public out there that the Parks and Rec youth program for the spring is open for registration. Let's see, yes, so the soccer, softball, baseball, t-ball for ages 3 through 14. And the senior games registration is also available through the 1st of March for tennis, pickleball, ping pong, etc. That's all I have, sir. Thank you.
Does the, we did not, and when we did the approval of the agenda, did you add a closed session?
You did, sir.
I did?
Yes, you mentioned it.
Okay, all right. Well, before we go there, let's go around the table here and have council comments.
Do the proclamation.
We'll start with you, Councilwoman Johnson.
You're gonna do
Ceremonial
the black
Proclamation.
the proclamation,
Gee,
Black History Month proclamation.
I'm getting way off course tonight. I have the proclamation designating this month as National Black History Month. Black History Month Proclamation. Whereas the 2022 theme for National Black History Month is Black History and Wellness, recognizing black scholars and practitioners of Western and alternative medicine, past and present, who have made advances in medical fields and care daily for the bodies, minds, and emotional states of people of their communities. And whereas during Black History Month, we celebrate the many achievements and contributions made by African Americans to our medical, economic, cultural, spirit, and political development. And whereas Dr. Carter G. Woodson, known as the father of Black history, initiated Negro History Week in February 1926, and for many years, the second week of February, chosen to coincide with the birthdays of Frederick Douglass and Abraham Lincoln, was celebrated by African Americans in the United States. And whereas in 1976, Negro History Week was expanded and became established as Black History Month. It is now celebrated all over North America. And whereas Black History Month is a time for all Americans to remember the stories and teachings of those who helped build our nation, advance the cause of civil rights, and strengthen the families and communities. And whereas African Americans have made significant contributions as leaders at the highest levels of the medicine, military, business, education, law, government, the arts, sports, and religion. And whereas the City of Goldsboro's Commission on Community Relations and Development has committed to working within all layers of the community to promote understanding, enhance knowledge, and seek opportunity for change in the face of this community. Now therefore, I, David Ham, Mayor of the City of Goldsboro, North Carolina, do hereby proclaim the month of February 2022 as Black History Month. And the City of Goldsboro encourage all citizens to observe this month by participating and supporting all festivities celebrating the proud heritage of African Americans. In witness therefore, I have unto this set my hand and affix the seal of the City of Goldsboro, North Carolina, the 7th day of February 2022. Okay. At this time then, go around and ask for comments, and I'll start with Councilwoman Jones.
Okay, I did have a question for the city manager, but in lieu of time, and I know it is going to require some discussion, it's regarding the repaying of $38,528.64 back to the annual community assessment CAPER, 2020 CAPER. And I know that that's going to require some discussion. What I wanted to know is, it says that Goldsboro must spend an additional $31,000 funds before May the 20th, 22. And I want to know where we are with that and why are we paying back this money? Did we not use it? Could we not find housing? Could we not find people that needed this money, that needed this assistance?
I'll have the Community Relations and Development Director update you on that information. We could do it at the retreat or at the next council meeting, but the repayment of those funds was essentially an administrative error, double booking those funds so they could pay for our employees' salaries, to my knowledge. And then the other spending, we'd have to get you an update on where they're at with that.
Okay, thank you. I would like to thank the mayor for the proclamation of Black History Month. I personally think that Black History is every month, 365 days of the year, but I really do appreciate it, and thank you. I would also like to ask individuals to please check out the library and the Wayne County Museum, who have wonderful exhibits of the accomplishments and the presence of the African American in the culture as well as in the city. There's another thing that I would like to share. When we were talking about elderly, there is a general statute 105-2771, and it's for the elderly disabled homestead exclusion. And it helps with the paying of property tax, which I need to pay mine before I name me in the paper. But it helps with homeowners 65 and older if you qualify. I have an 84-year-old sister, and she did qualify, so she doesn't have to pay taxes now. So I did want individuals to know that that is out there. Go to the tax office and see if you qualify. And that's it.
I'd like to thank Chip and Becky Craig and all the Kiwanians who have, over these years, and all the guys that have driven the train and all the work you've done. So thank you very much, and I think it's a wonderful project. Thank you. That's all I have, sir.
I just want to encourage everyone to take the time to educate yourselves, especially during this designated month of Black History, to understand the impact as well as the contributions that African Americans have made, not only in this country but around the world. One of my students at Goldsboro High School, as a member of the Interact Club, is working on a proposal to have a week entitled Black Excellence, which will be similar to a homecoming setting week, whereas every day would highlight different aspects of the African American experience. And I just want to give a special shout out to my third block student, Ms. Hines, for your vision. That's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Gaddard?
Sure. For those of you that could hear earlier, a question was asked about why it was that I was appointed to council. And I want to refer back to the presentation that I gave whenever I was given the opportunity to speak to council about why I believe that I was a good fit at that time. And I believe that the position of Goldsboro, economically speaking, in the region and preparing for the growth of the region over the next decade and a half and beyond is what we should be focused on. That is what I focused on when I was presenting to council, and not tied to any one individual or any group of individuals. It's tied to the best way to position this city as we look towards the future and how it will interact with the region around it. So to that point, tonight we saw an amazing opportunity from our local Kiwanians, Chip and Becky Craig, who have built incredible careers here in Goldsboro, but also reinforced this club in Goldsboro to do something that keeps the city on the map and keeps it humble within itself. Something as simple as a train, where that anyone can go and ride with their father, with their mother, with their grandparent, and then they're rebuilding this thing. And look at the list of donors: $34,000 coming from just individual folks. That's the $100 cap. So people donating up to $100,000 or below, $34,000. This is the second highest category that was in front of them. This is a generous city. We should be grateful for this city. And then they're using local businesses, not because we told them you have to, but because they're the ones that stepped up to the plate anyway. These are people who put in dollars and then put in their own sweat equity as well to make Goldsboro as strong as it possibly can be. And I just want to say thank you. They're one example. There are countless other organizations that do the same thing in spirit and act. And I just want to say thank you to all of you for making Goldsboro the place that it is and putting us on a path to be an even better place. Thank you.
Mr. Aycock?
I know I rode on the Kiwanis train, I think in 1956, which was the second year I was out there. And I took both of my sons to ride on it. And on the last public night that it operated, or day that it operated, I carried my grandson, and he thoroughly enjoyed it. So it is a family tradition. And the second thing is, during the month of January, I've got more phone calls about leaves and pine straw not being picked up over a 5 weeks period. Don't blame the Public Works Department. Their equipment was in horrible, horrible condition during that month. And they got way behind, and they started working every day to the week, and some of them worked on the weekends. So don't blame them. It's been picked up now, and hopefully we can get back on schedule. but I just want you to know that I did receive your phone calls, and I did make calls to the Public Works, and they explained to me, and I accepted it, and I'm sure it's true. So, thank you.
I want to say that I often approach people and that I have a reason to or in close proximity to, and ask them, are they residents of Goldsboro? And if they say they are, I ask them, how they like the city, any issues, et cetera, et cetera. And I get some good remarks. I get comments. I get recommendations, suggestions, etc. One of the things I particularly like finding out or talking with are people who have recently come to Goldsboro. I had that opportunity the other day when I was waiting in the gas line, and the gentleman that was working there at the station, there were just probably 15 cars waiting to get fuel, and he was hustling around trying to keep people moving and so forth, and tempers were a little bit flared from time to time, and so I stepped out of the car and asked him, or asked him his name and complimented him on how the job he was doing. But also asked him if he was a resident of Goldsboro. He said he had just moved here 6 months before, and this was last week, by the way. And I said, so why'd you come to Goldsboro? He said, well, my son's signed out at Seymour Johnson, and I moved down here from Pennsylvania. And so I talked to him what he thought of the city and so forth. I was amazed at how complimentary he was of the people here in Goldsboro. It just impressed me that here's a person from Pennsylvania who came down here, has a job, working, but he came here to support his son also, not financially, but to give him moral support and try to encourage him in his career that he's now been in 6 years. We have lots of those people here in Goldsboro.